Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are in, strangely enough, not nullsec. We are in highsec with the Chimera Navy. We had a video about this a couple of days ago, but I didn't post it. Um, so I wanted to go back and try to revisit it and do it a little bit better. So the Chimera Navy is only allowed in highsec right now because it is given a highsec pass. Um, any day, any update that comes up in the future, this could be revoked, and you will have to move the ship back to nullsec at some point. However, in the meantime, we're going to enjoy it in highsec because that's what we do. So let's start with sort of the fit here, as well as maybe some of the reasoning behind why you would want to have this ship. Um, yeah, if the HiSec pass gets revoked, you cannot undock the ship, and you will have to repackage the whole thing and send it to a low-sec ITC for, like, I think it was like 2 billion ISK or something like that, or more. Um, so you really don't want to pay that if you end up having it after that HiSec pass gets revoked. Um, anyway, so why would you fly a Chimera Navy over something like a Cyan, a Shanghai, or Lucent Moon? Well, the Cyan is fairly weak um, in terms of high-sec ships. The Cyan is definitely the weakest of all the high-sec ships, but, you know, it's allowed high-sec because it's a Concorde ship. Um, it only has 3 fighter slots, so you do have to fit pretty expensive in order to make it worth your time, compared to something like the Chimera Navy, where you can fit very inexpensive, but the ship itself is also a third more expensive than the Cyan. Cyan right now is about 55 billion, whereas the whole of the Chimera Navy is 75 billion. Um, the fitting of the Chimera Navy is much easier to deal with than something like a Cyan, but it's very similar to the Shanghai, where you're going to have a very passive fit in the high sec. Well, I actually don't think the Chimera Navy has that many nanocores either. It's got some decent ones. Illusory Ghost is pretty cool on here. High Noon, Star Melody is absolutely a great choice. But I really wouldn't go for any of these others. It does not say EVE Online. It says Chimera Navy in the high sec EVE Echoes. Unless I didn't update it. I don't know. Weird. Yeah, it should say Chimera Navy in the high sec. Weird. Okay. Anyway, so Chimera Navy is very easy to fit. You throw on an extender, 2 reds, and you can have DPS as much as you want. I fixed it, Panda. Alright. Thank you for letting me know. Anyway. So, very simple to fit the Chimera Navy. The Shanghai and the Lucent Moon and the Cyan all have special modifications that are fairly expensive. He can't stream snipe me and Clortler unless he just wants to follow me around. Anyway, so all three of those ships have very specialty modules as well as they have specialty. The Lucent Moon has a specialty rig system. So, getting a hold of those can be a little difficult at times. Whereas something like a Chimera Navy, you do have one specialty module, but it is not required to have. That special module is one of the. Let me find it here. It's got a really weird name. It is a mid slot, if I remember correctly. It's a tactical module. Where are you? Quantum Entanglement Generator. Yes. Or just the entanglement generators in general. There's three different kinds. Each one does a different thing. I don't remember what each one does. I know one of them was supposed to make it so that way if your enemy is taking damage, you get healed. There's another one that says if you're taking damage, your enemy takes damage. And then there's one that is if your enemy is being healed, then you get healed. If I remember correctly. I might be a little bit off on my description, but that is definitely something that these things use, but not required. Which ends up making the fit way cheaper, in my opinion. Right now my DPS is really low, but that is because I am running some pretty, defensively oriented rigs. In high sec, that doesn't matter. You would just go full DPS. With the full DPS rig, I'd expect somewhere around like 13,000 to 15,000 DPS cold. And this does have the T4 rig on here, which will give us about 20% extra damage on our fighters. Very useful. Along with that 25% shield, which gives us a better passive shield regen. Anyways, that's the explanation of why you might want to go for a Chimera Navy, because it is a little bit more expensive, about 20 billion more expensive than, say, the Cyan. It's about 20 billion less expensive than a Shanghai. And it is about 20 billion more expensive than a Lucent Moon, but the Lucent Moon needs a specialty fighter hangar to allow it to use fighters, or if you want to go for the lightweight ships, it needs a lightweight ship hangar, which ends up making the Lucent Moon the same cost as a Chimera Navy to use it offensively. And that's about 75 billion. So if you don't like the look of Cyan or Shanghai, maybe look at one of the Navy carriers, because all of them are about 70 to 80 billion. Um, and for now, they still have access to high sec. Um, right now, I am using the prototype Furbolgs. If I had an additional fleet of Navy Furbolgs, I would throw those in here to show you the DPS difference. But to give you an idea, 8,000 DPS cold right now. If I go ahead and uh, if I go ahead and throw these in here, I can show you what the DPS difference is with just 3 Federation Navy Furbolgs in here. So 85-12. So not a huge difference when you're looking at the passive. 500 difference for 3 flights. You could probably just stay with the less expensive fighters, to be honest. Now that 500 difference will matter um, when you're looking at the hot stats. So let's go ahead and undock. We'll look at my current hot stats.
Undocking.
Yeah. Yeah, I am using defensive rigs. Completely defensive rigs. Yeah, so you're pretty close to what I'm at. I assume you've got. Yeah, it looks like you've got satyrs in there, which are the lightweight superiority fighters. Uh, is that satyrs? Or is that actually furbolgs? They kind of look like satyrs, but they might be furbolgs. Yeah, you've also got 4. Alright, cool. Anyway, so 8,000. Like I said, I've got defensive rigs on here. It's kind of nice to have those defensive rigs to balance out these resistances. Although, on a ship like this, you really need to be going with integrated rigs to get the most out of this. Alright, so, active here, about 8 million EHP, with very, very minimal. Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true there. This is just a high sec fit here. I'm not going to show off what this thing would be in null sec. Null sec would have a lot more defense. I'm telling you that right now. Yeah, 1.4 million shield hit points with 8.6 million EHP. That's really quite good for a high sec fit, and still having a decent amount of modules free. So let's look at the hot fighter here. That puts us at about 13,985. I am running a aerospace right now without the extra 10% because it really needs that flight velocity. But we are getting a 20% increase in damage, a 25% increase in flight velocity from this. You can see here I'm only running a level 8 fighter fire control array, which gives us a 25% module activation cost, but a 26% damage boost. And that is why... Yeah, you're running Bombard. Yeah, if I was to swap on, like, one or two, DPS rigs, the activation time in particular, because right now everything is in damage. If I put in one activation time, this DPS will spike really high. And that's something I might do here. I might want to go and jump to Gina, and see what that DPS would be. But for now, we've got a few, we've got a few labs I want to run here.
Autopilot engaged. Destination reached.
Yeah. Definitely a huge buff over the Cyan. Having that fourth fighter slot is like having an additional 20 to 25% extra firepower at your disposal. Something really nice about the Chimera Navy issue in particular is that it is focused very heavily on explosion velocity and explosion radius.
Warp drive active.
Which makes the application of the offense fighters way better than what you would ever get out of Cyan, Shanghai, or Lucent Moon.
We're under attack. We're under attack.
I don't even actually need to run this. And we also don't even need this network sensor module. The ship locks up things pretty good.
We're being warp scrambled.
Yeah. The Nidhogger Navy absolutely needs that light offense fighter. But you can see here, with these furbolgs, we're getting about 165 over 198 for application. And these are just the prototype furbolgs. With better fighters, you would have better application, along with better flight speed. So, investing in the fighters is absolutely necessary. I do really love the Nidhogger Navy and the Chimera Navy issue in particular. Nidhogger is just so good at DPS, but it just doesn't have that application, whereas the Chimera is so good on tank, but it doesn't really have the DPS. So it's the two extremes, which are kind of the best options.
We're under attack.
And something I do really want to see is how this ship would do with full DPS rigs. It would easily trump my Shanghai that I had. The application plus the DPS makes this thing an absolute nightmare on the battlefield to deal with. you can see the lock time is not bad. I don't have the network sensor module being used right now. And we're still locking these frigates really quite well. I think it is still necessary on the Chimera Navy issue, because as a passive fit ship, you want this remote repair increase. That way, if you have a Force Auxiliary on grid, the healing that you get will be 25% more than what other ships would be getting. So absolutely make sure you do have that network sensor module just for the remote repair.
Enemy ships detected. We're under attack.
Speaking of which, I do need to turn on the automatic lock back. Yeah, we're dealing quite handily with a lot of the smaller ships. Now, this could be a little bit of a struggle when you go into something like an Advanced Inquisitor, where ships are just significantly faster. And so that's where you need those faster fighters. But if you're in high sec, like this ship currently is, not a problem. None of these ships in high sec are going to be so fast that you can't hit them. The worst case scenario is they'll just be a little bit far away, and so you have some travel time. That can be easily fixed by dropping the shield extender in high sec only. You can drop the shield extender and put on like a fighter micro warp drive module. Yeah, 40% speed on Bombard makes it a huge benefit. On Aerospace, you're only getting the 25% or whatever for a maxed out Aerospace implant. And if you want the extra DPS on top of that, you're going to be losing 5%. So, definitely consider Bombard versus Aerospace. In Nullsec, I do think Bombard is better. But in high sec, Aerospace with the consistent DPS
Enemy ships detected.
can be a make or break.
We're under attack.
Yeah, Aerospace is kinda bad in Nullsec. The
We're
only
under
times you
attack.
might want it out there, would be in Capital Anomalies, where there's not a lot of, like, small ships. And the ranges are not that far away. And that's just not... that doesn't happen often. Yeah, Aerospace on a VAC is really good, because VACs can make their ships significantly faster with the Swarm module. Speaking of, I am looking to get rid of this ship after this stream. I either want to try to get my hands on one of the VACs, or I need to get my hands on 2 Lancer Dreadnoughts. I do not intend on keeping this ship for any period of time. The ship itself with the T4 hangar mod is about 50,000 IP. So it is quite expensive. So how have you been, Panda?
Enemy ships detected. We're under attack.
That's good. Good. I like to hear that. Excuse me. One of the biggest problems I find with the Chimera Navy issue, and Panda, you can back me up on this if you find it to be the same. The biggest issue I find on this ship is the capacitor. The capacitor, even with really good, skills in engineering on my main character, the capacitor is just trash on this ship. Yeah, 25% more capacitor with the afterburner instead of the micro-warp drive. But you kind of want that micro-warp drive anyway, so you can quick warp. It's better to be on grid for only about 8 to 9 seconds, in this case 8.84, rather than be on grid for about 12 seconds. Yeah, you could definitely just pre-align. And that's what you should be doing. I'm just lazy when it comes to that. Yeah, nullsec is gonna be full passive. I have seen a few Chimera navies that run about 212 million EHP with a damage control active. So keep that in mind if you ever want to try to jump one of these things. You're gonna have to fight through a lot of EHP. Nah, that's not enough DPS to kill it. I doubt it would be. I have seen the DPS on the Natural Floor full hot. But the passive on a
Warp drive
Chimera
active.
is really quite good, and it does tank supers. You're not gonna survive like a block if they drop you, but that's just true of most things in this game. I think there's a lot of players with really good implants,
We're under attack.
and not much you can do about that. Still waiting on our cooldown here. Yeah, Barrage Implant and the one with all the tracking, both are really good for the Naga farm. You want Barrage for capitals, and you want the tracking one for sub-capitals. Yeah, it's not good for a gank fit.
Enemy ships detected.
I agree. I agree.
We're under attack. We're under attack.
So I looked back at that, when he jumped me with the Garber Panda, and my Sea-Wiz never even targeted you. I was like, oh man, if only. I was actually, before you walked out, I was just starting to clear out one of the enemies, to see if it would target you. Yeah, grapple ramps up fast. I'm not sure how well it affected you, because you were still moving pretty good. I think even at 75% reduction, you would have been still fast enough, I think.
Enemy ships detected.
Just not fast enough to outrun Sea-Wiz.
We're under attack.
Wow. Yeah, so that's pretty good. I think it only cycled about 5 or 6 times. Maybe. So it was probably implying like a 2.5% reduction or something each time it cycled on you at that range. That's true. I guess you've got something to buy now. No, certainly not on the initial speed. It takes a little while for that thing to ramp up. Oh. No, certainly not. It would not reach that. It might get half of that, if you're lucky. Maybe 3/4, with like some really good setup.
Enemy ships detected. We're under attack.
But on the other hand, the cruiser variant of the Garber could probably stay at a really good range with the long range points and maintain a pretty decent speed even at that range. The Orthrus, I think the name was. Yeah, that's amazing that you even made it through that. Yeah, that you did, but that's expected of a frigate. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, it just depends on which Sea Whiz we have on the gate. You might survive one shot on your way. But after that, you're out of luck.
Enemy ships detected.
Yeah, that is
We're
if you can
under
activate your DCU in time.
We're
Which you should be able to.
attack.
Just gotta make sure the game actually registers it early enough. Yeah, I guess so. Well, you get the medium weapons, which would be really nice. I assume you're using the tactical missiles for Scram. That's as much as I deduced, using the tactical missiles for Scram. Interesting. Well, it seems to work for you, which is cool. I'm not a PvP guy, so I don't really do much on that end. So you can see here, this is one of those times where the fighters just take forever to move across, and that's where I would have liked that fighter micro warp drive module, so I can activate that and make them go zoom. Yeah, you can definitely do that. I have looked into it. I just don't use it. Alright, we've got one more mission we're gonna run today.
Autopilot engaged. Destination reached.
This is exactly why I like the micro warp drive, though. Because within 8.8 seconds, we can be at warp.
Warp drive active.
Yes, sir, you have fun and fly safe. Thank you for stopping by. So after this, we'll take the ship to Gina, and I think I want to look at what we can get out of more DPS mods. Yeah, you can see here that fighters are just no problem at all. They pretty much two-shot the fighters. One shot if they hit all at the same time. Hey, Donut, how you doing today? Welcome, welcome. Yep, like I said, I'm kind of going back and forth, depending on what I have available. Huh. Well, at least I see you again today, right? Get a little bit of a smile, a hello.
Enemy ships detected. We're under attack.
Oh, yeah. Is there a good angle? It's kind of a really bad angle. Am I even on ultra? I'm on high. Let's get ultra. Yep, this is Chimera Navy issue. It's one of the few carriers that are allowed in high-sec right now. It doesn't make a foot difference on a phone, I don't see much, yeah. Hopefully we can get a better angle here at some point when I walk back to station.
Enemy ships detected. We're being warp scrambled. We're under attack.
Yeah, not very good angles right now because there's dark on the left, dark on the right. Just a little bit behind us. Yeah, so my current stats with a full defensive build. Well, not really a defensive build, but all of my rigs are defense. This is what we're at right now, 13,985. This does have the siege modification on it, but we are only running the prototype bolts. If I was to swap in the aerators, the burst aerators, the speed ones, you would see this DPS spike pretty high, and we're gonna do that a little bit later today.
Enemy ships detected.
We are only on
We're under attack.
aerospace implant. And we
We're
don't
under
have the
attack.
10% extra damage here. We wanted the application. But yeah, it's a Chimera. There's more defense than there is damage. You can see here, light fighter damage is only 5%. But everything goes in damage and application. So while your DPS might be lower, your actual on-target damage is going to be, on average, higher. Like I said, if I throw on DPS modules, rigs, it'll be much higher. And that's how I fly my Cyan, is with, damage it's with the activation time for the fighters on the Cyan, which gives it about 27 to 30,000 DPS on mine. Now, I'm not sure if you had maxed out skills or not. I don't believe that I do. Yeah, I'm still missing some level 5 skills for light fighters. Yep, we are
Enemy
in
ships
Courtler.
detected. We're under attack. We're under attack.
Yeah, okay, that would definitely make a huge difference. I'm at like 454 or 453 for most of my light fighter stuff. Jinno's nearby, I think. I think he's, building some stuff. I'll have to go back through and look at what he's doing at some point and revise things and put in notes. We've got some pretty cool stuff in the works. Okay, here's another one of those times where the fighters just take forever to get where they're going. And that's where I would want that. Yep, Panda was here earlier. How you doing, Arceus? Oh, funny. Yeah, I don't think he has one right now in Cortler. Alright, so we have run all
Autopilot
of the
disabled.
labs that I have. Let's go see about... See if my game will load. Wow, not a single lab. Oh no, there's one lab out of 3 characters that are resetting. God, that's awful. Alright, we're not doing that lab. It's only a 4 million. Well, you can run labs in nullsec in a super if you want to die. Hey, Arcreus. You know of anyone who might want a Chimera Navy issue? I'm looking for a couple of Lancer Dreadnoughts. Alright, let's go ahead and head back to Gina. But first, I actually need to dock up.
Autopilot engaged.
You know why? We have some unfriendlies. Hey, there's Jinner. Right when you needed him. Oh god, this ship is so slow. I usually don't mind a slow ship, but this thing is slow.
Warp drive active.
It's so much faster just to have the micro warp drive or the afterburner, whichever one works better for you.
Destiny docking request accepted. Undocking.
You have to go to Twitch, and I believe on your main page of Twitch, you can check that out. Something I did not check with this ship that I really should have. I do not know if these Navy carriers have... Hey. I need to figure this out. Interesting. Huh. I have no idea how that works. Oh, good. I'm glad you found the whisper. Come on, you slow boat. Warp already.
Warp drive active.
Hi, Snoopy. How you doing today? Good to see you. Okay. Yeah, we are going to be using the micro warp drive jump trick to move between
Warp drive active.
jumps. And I do need this one up here. I am doing good. There we go. Now you're making deals. Anytime I'm in low sec, I'm always jumping with my defensive
Warp
modules
drive
on.
active.
That is a good note to always have. Hey, Azum, how you doing today? Welcome, welcome. We are now through low sec.
Warp drive active.
And quickly on our way to Gina.
Autopilot engaged. Warp drive active.
Yep, he has definitely held on to my super. A few times, actually, I think. Yeah, considering how Jenner runs his, I think it's a pretty fair trade for getting to use a high-sec carrier. What do you mean the temp permission?
Warp drive active.
Jin is a good one. I'm telling you, Jinner should be the streamer, not me.
Warp drive active.
Yeah, so they are still on temporary, but we have no idea when it's gonna end. Yeah, I think it's just
Autopilot engaged.
it's just kind of weird. But that's why I'm showing this off now, so that 15 years from now we can look back and go, wow, I remember when carriers
Warp
used to
drive
be
active.
in high sec. You might as well show it and give people something to think about between the Shanghai, the Siam, the Lucent Moon, and now the Navy carriers. Oh, that one. Well, thank you, Jenner. I appreciate that.
Warp drive active.
Yeah, 15 years of Eve Echoes. Can you imagine that? We'll be at a 20-year anniversary by then for Eve Echoes. I can't imagine what this game would be like in 20 years. We've already changed so much from the beginning of this game till now. Who knows how we'll be in 20? Hell, who knows if any of us are going to be still playing it? I know I will. Thank you for the gifted sub, Jitter.
Warp drive active.
Once again, thank you for another gifted sub. in, in 15 years, we'll all be flying high-sec Titans. Yes. Let's do it. I can't wait. Welcome back, Donut. In 15 years, we'll all have Fortizars in high-sec. That's my goal. You'll find Orion's
Drive
Trade
active.
Center somewhere out in space. Probably in Perimeter or Foreign. Really debating on Foreign if I can have a high-sec thing. Ooh, a super mining ship. That's a thought. Something bigger than a Roarfall that does mining? That could be interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of back and forth on the Roarfall. I think the ship is really good, and it absolutely needs the seal mod. Um, but in the same regard,
Warp drive active.
you can do a lot of the same thing, but safer with an Orca. So, not really sure if it's worth the investment comparatively. Yeah, your mining time goes way better on the Roarfall, but I'd rather be safer in an Orca. Yes, we need a versatile assault mining ship. There we go. Now that would be something, wouldn't it?
Warp drive active.
Honestly, if it only launched like one Orca and like 3 Covenors, that would be way better. Yeah, EVE Online is a very unique environment for that kind of stuff.
Warp drive active.
Yeah, you've told me this story. It's a pretty good one. Truly, the stories that come out of EVE Online are things of legend and lore. It's things you would find in, like,
Autopilot engaged.
folklore and songs. It is so good.
Warp drive active.
Sounds like we need to make an EVE Online variation of our Corp RKS or Alliance. That would be pretty fun. Go between the two.
Warp drive active.
Have you been keeping an eye on Pandemic Horde's fall RKS? They have just lost the war.
Destination docking request accepted.
Have you been paying attention to EVE Online and the fall of Pandemic Horde? They have had a mess on their hands over the last, 24 hours. Oh man, you have got to see it. I think I have the link. Nope, no new changes to the Chimera other than that I have thrown a level 4 hanger on here. So let me sell some things and then I'm gonna buy some rigs. Yeah, Pandemic Horde just got absolutely screwed by their leadership, and um, Imperium just absolutely wiped the floor with them. Oof. It's been a rough 24 hours for Pandemic Horde. Let me see if I can find you the video. Not on here. Yeah, they were friends at one point, and a whole lot has gone down. Let me send it to you on Discord just real quick. There you are. Have a look at that, and come back to me. Yeah, see what you think about that. Alright, so we've got some things to sell. I just gotta find them first in my hangar full of stuff. Combat rigs, fighter rigs. burst. That's what I'm looking for. I need 3 of these. Oh, heck yeah. 480? I'll buy that. Okay, so we are currently at 8,086. If I go and replace 1 with a fighter burst aerator, we go up to 9,241. That is a 1,200 DPS increase from 1 fighter activation time. And the reason you have that large increase is because everything on this ship goes into damage rather than damage and activation time. So let's see what this is at.
Undocking.
When we activate our 2 DPS mods. I don't have 3 on here because I left them. So 14,180. So previously we were at 13,800 or something like that, or less. Now we only have 2 fighter modules, and we're at more DPS than what we had previously. Just consider that.
Docking request accepted.
Let me see if I can pick up 1 more of these so I can show it with 3 as a comparison. I don't even know if I have 1 already in here. I do. Cool. Okay, let's go see with 3.
Undocking.
So we were at 14,100 and something. Now let's see what we're at. We gotta wait about 18 seconds for the cooldown. And this is with just 1 fighter DPS activation time. So now we're at 15,983 compared to the 14,124. We actually went up another 1,800 DPS-ish. 1,700 DPS, kind of. And we only have 1 fighter burst aerator. So with 3, you would be expecting somewhere around 19 to 20,000. On this kind of fit. I don't really know that I want to add 3. I think I'm going to keep it as is, though. Because I'm not keeping this ship after this. Okay, so let me fit this thing with the C-type. Yeah, that all looks pretty good. Actually, if I'm not keeping this stuff here, I kind of still need it, though. Yep. I figured you had some interactions with these individuals. That's funny how things turned out, isn't it? Nah, it's all good. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me today. I will be moving on to moving the ship around. I am looking for a couple of Lancer Dreadnoughts. So if you happen to have a couple that you want to trade for a Navy carrier with the fit and the rigs that you see here, let me know. Because I will take straight holes, which is about 110 billion for what this ship is. Remember, this ship has a T4 hangar, and the ship is actually worth about 75 billion itself. So it's a pretty even trade. It's a little bit of a loss on my end, but I'm okay with that. Thank you all so much for your support, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, and be safe.